joining us. Here we go. All right. So we're going to make sure that whatever is shared tonight by candidates or folks who are introducing our candidates, that it is memorialized and shared with the wider web universe. For folks I don't know, my name is who I don't know, or you don't know me. I'm Godfrey Plata. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the deputy director here at LA Forward. That means I oversee all of our programming and organizing work. Super excited to welcome you. If you're new to LA Forward, you can find us at laforward.org. We are a group that brings communities of folks together in LA City, LA County, 88 cities across LA County. And when we bring people together, we know that we want to inspire them to talk with each other, lift up issues that are important to them and their communities, and support them to bring those issues to decision makers at the city and county level that can help change policy to make LA a fair and more flourishing place for all of us. When it comes to election years, our C4 LA Forward helps to elevate that into political platforms. And we endorse candidates who we believe are going to be the best stewards of all of the voices of our community members. And so today you're going to meet 6 folks who are excited to endorse for this particular election cycle, who we believe align with our values and convictions as a community. This is important right now because some of you may have gotten messages from the LA County Registrar's Office that mail-in ballots are beginning to get sent out. And so it's not often a surprise that in this first weekend of February, when we face a March primary, people will start to receive their mail-in ballots as soon as today or tomorrow. You're supposed to start receiving them next week. So don't be surprised if it takes a while for it to get to you, but every single registered voter in LA County is supposed to get a mail-in ballot. You don't need to do anything special to get it. Just keep checking your mailbox. You can drop off these mail-in ballots anytime in the month of February up until March 5th into any mailbox to mail it back in after you filled it out. There's also drop boxes all over the county that are specially marked for these mail-in ballots as well. And then, of course, we've got vote centers, actually 645 of them across LA County, and you can start walking into them beginning on February 24th. More of them will open the weekend before the final election day. And of course, you can vote right up until 8 p.m. on March 5th. And don't get out of line if you are in line on March 5th. We want to make sure you get your votes in, and we want to make sure you have educated votes, especially because in a primary election year, we don't often get to see enough voters out there. You can see this is data from 2020, the last time we had a presidential election. Lots of people were like, 2020 presidential election, we must have had really high voter turnout. This is what high voter turnout looks like in 2020 during a presidential cycle. Only 1 in 3 Angelenos actually got out the vote. So if you're here tonight getting educated about our endorsed candidates, your votes matter a lot and your megaphone matters a lot. We hope that you aren't just getting educated about who you want to vote for, but we hope you are spreading the word to your neighbors as well. So we're going to be sharing links that you can share with neighbors in LA County to make sure that you are able to support others, to remind them to vote and to vote for candidates that might align with your community's values. Here at LA Forward, again, we've made our first 6 endorsements so far. This is how folks get endorsed. We are a membership group in our community. And what that means is we identify jurisdictions across LA County where we have a lot of members. We're not going to necessarily endorse in communities where we don't have any members because we don't have any voices in that community to actually lift up what's important to that particular community. So we identify jurisdictions where we have some density. We do outreach to all of the possible candidates in that race that might be representing a particular area. We want to give people the option to apply for our endorsement. When folks send in their applications for endorsement, they go through a rigorous interview with a committee of folks within their particular jurisdiction and with our coalition partners as well. We want this to be an incredibly informed decision. Once those hour-long interviews are done, that committee goes on and makes a recommendation to our larger membership. That membership then ratifies a vote. So everyone who you are actually seeing tonight as an endorsed candidate is someone who has vetted through an application, an interview, and then some voting and conversation as well. So we know they are representative of our community and are excited to share them with you. If you're not yet a member of LA Forward and want to be part of that process, you can go to laforward.org/member. With that said, I'm going to pass things to Erica. Before we start introducing our candidates, we want you to not just be excited by them, we want you to actually support them. So here's how we at LA Forward are going to help you support our candidates. Erica?
Thank you, Godfrey. Hi, everyone. We're really excited to share some of the resources that we've put together to help you support our candidates and learn more about all of the ways that you can support them. So we will drop these links in the chat in a minute. But firstly, we have our voter guide. So that is our online resource with all of the information about the candidates we've endorsed. We really encourage you to share that with your friends, your family, your neighbors, everyone you know that's trying to figure out who to vote for in this upcoming March primary. We also are working on canvassing events. That means getting out and knocking doors and doing that for our endorsed candidates. We've put those events up on the calendar on our website, and we're so excited. We know that for our members, it's not just about the impact that we're having to support our candidates. It's about doing it together. It's about the amazing community of all of us that are excited to see each other when we meet up and when we go volunteer together. So doing it together is something that's really special. And then we also have our ballot parties coming up throughout the month. We're going to be having 3 in the San Gabriel Valley and 3 in the LA area, downtown LA, San Fernando Valley, and Culver City. So stay tuned on our calendar. Sign up to join us for one of those ballot parties. Those are informal. We just get together, fill out our ballots together, and just have a lot of fun talking about our values and the candidates we're supporting. And then ongoing volunteer opportunities. We have a shared Google Doc for all our members that shares with you the links and resources for all of our candidates. If you can't make it out to Canvas on the day that we're going with LA Forward, sign up for another shift or sign up for postcard writing or sign up for text banking. There's tons of ways to support our candidates, including donating. So all of those links are there for you on that resource, and we'll keep that document updated so you can continue to use it and support our candidates. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Erica. Perfect. Oh, great. Spotlight. Again, she's going to put those links in the chat box so that you can click on them, explore, bookmark them, send them to people that you want to have these resources. But now I want to move us on to our main event, and that is meeting our endorsed candidates. Before we have our candidates speak, you're going to hear from people who are going to introduce them, who are going to be voters of them, who are residents of their districts. And so you're going to hear from those folks. They're going to introduce the candidate that we are endorsing, and then you're just going to hear them in a row. Before we hear from any speakers, I want you to see the whole lineup of folks. So in a moment, here we go. Here's our entire slate of our first 6 endorsements. You see on your screen, these are folks who are excited for you to support. Feel free to cheer them on. Yep, I see people clapping. We've got DA George Gascón with us. We'll be joined later by CD14 candidate Ysabel Jurado, CD12 candidate Serena Oberstein, CD10 candidate Pastor Eddie Anderson is here, CD4's council member Nithya Raman is running for re-election. She joins us tonight. And then CD2's Jillian Burgos is also joining us. So super excited for you to hear from them. We're going to hear first from CA George Gascón in a moment, and then we're going to run through our council districts in order, starting with Council District 2. And so just to get us started, I want to welcome one of our LA Forward members who is on a campaign as she drives across LA in her taxi to tell every Angelino about a candidate that she's excited to support. And that is Tracy Porter. Tracy, will you say a few words and introduce our first candidate?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Tracy Porter, and I am honored to stand before you today. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a resident of Encino, originally from South Central Los Angeles. I am also a justice-impacted person. And like many in our community, I endured the consequences of tough on crime policies that 25 years ago led to convictions regardless of guilt. For far too long, individuals from Black and Brown communities have borne the weight of a system that was not always just. But today, I bring a message of hope and empowerment. In July of last year, after a 25-year journey, justice prevailed and my record was expunged. As someone who has experienced the impact of a flawed system firsthand, I am excited to share with you why I am casting my vote for George Gascón. George Gascón, endorsed by LA Forward, is not just a candidate, he is also a beacon of change. He understands the injustices of the past and is committed to reshaping our criminal justice system. His advocacy for reform, transparent policies, and community engagement represents a departure from the tough on crime era, offering a vision that prioritizes fairness, equality, and the rehabilitation of justice impacted individuals. So I am not only excited to vote for George Gascón, I am excited to introduce him as LA Forward's endorsed candidate for Los Angeles County District Attorney. Let us stand together for a more just and compassionate future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you all. This is a very special moment. I cannot tell you how proud I am, not only of having Tracy introduce me, but for the endorsement from LA Forward. You know, Tracy speaks to the reality of the work. We are touching members of our community day in and day out in very real ways, and we are showing that we can have safety and we can be humane. We are showing that we can have safety and we can have accountability for the people that work in the system. We are showing that we can have safety and we don't have to over police and over incarcerate our communities. But I have to tell you something. This year is going to be a critical year. There are 11 people running against me. They're all running on a platform to undo all the reforms that we have started together. And if you notice, I say we, because there's nothing that I can do, or any one of us, frankly, alone. But together we are mighty, and we have a lot of work that is left to do. And you're going to hear people are sort of altering their narrative as they see that they're out of touch. But all you got to do is look at what they have been saying for the last few months. And as always, I am going to undo everything that George Gascón has done. Not only is my race critical to the well-being of our community, I truly believe that my race is critical to so many other communities, because LA is a beacon. LA is being looked upon by people around the country. There's an assault on progressive policies. We know, and I put this underline, we cannot stand down. Everybody has to vote. We have a presidential election that is going to be critical to the well-being of our democracy for generations to come. But right here at home, the race for LA District Attorney, the race for Nithya's district, the race for so many other districts in both LA City and around the county are critical to the future. And I tell you that I'm very, very proud to stand with you. We can do it. I know that we can, but we cannot allow to have anybody standing to the side. This is one of those where it's all hands on deck. We all have to work hard. We all have to pull together, because as Godfrey indicated, even in 2020, we're saying high voter turnout. We're talking about 1 in 3. We cannot afford the 1 in 3, because you know who the ones are that vote all the time? Are the people that are not going to support us, right? So we got to make sure that those other 2 are coming to the party, because if not, the ones are going to speak for all of us. Thank you so much, and look forward to this fight, and good luck to all of you. Take care.
Thank you for making time in your schedule to join us, DA George Gascón. Again, get your vote out wherever you are in the county. All 88 cities in LA County can and should vote for DA George Gascón to be reelected. Thank you for joining us. And again, thank you to Tracy as well for that introduction and talking about the really material reasons why we need his continued leadership. I recognized earlier that LA Forward does work all across LA County, and I want to shout out my colleague Allison Henry, who is here, who is laying the groundwork for us to be able to do more stuff like we're doing tonight across cities outside of LA City. Tonight, we're going to focus a lot on LA City, and in the future, we hope that we're going to be able to do this for cities like Pomona, like Claremont, like Baldwin Park, because every city demands the same sort of mass education that we hope to provide in LA City tonight. Next up, we're going to move on into our LA City Council district endorsements. Our first one, we're going to go in order, starting from our numerical lower numbers. And so we're going to start with LA City Council District 2, where you see who our endorsed candidate is. But first, we're going to hear from a resident to tell us a little bit about why he supports Jillian Burgos for CD2. Jason?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Enright, he, him pronouns. I've lived in District 2 in North Hollywood for the last 15 years. I'm a full-time dad, and I do volunteer work with the homeless and organizing at LA Forward around unarmed crisis response. Tonight, I have the pleasure to introduce to you our endorsed candidate for City Council District 2, Jillian Burgos. I first met Jillian at a neighborhood meeting in North Hollywood Park, where we first shared our stories about the need for alternatives in public safety that would grow into LA Forward's Unarmed Crisis Response program. And over the last year, I've witnessed Jillian grow from the already fierce advocate she'd proved herself to be on our neighborhood council, fighting for more support for our unhoused neighbors, to a tried and true leader, organizing solidarity nights to bring comfort and support to our community as we struggled during the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. At our LA Forward Candidate Forum, I spoke about the need for City Council District 2 to have a true champion. And Jillian wowed us with her knowledge of the district and the issues facing its residents and her clear progressive vision of what Los Angeles can be, from healthier streets to affordable housing to a greener future. Without further ado, let me introduce Jillian Burgos.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian Burgos, and I am so happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you, LA Forward. I am a proud Afro-Latina small business owner of a theater company, an essential healthcare worker, because for most people to survive in Los Angeles, you can't just work one job. I am also a lifelong renter who has faced housing insecurity for much of my life, and I'm a neighborhood council member. I am not a politician, but I have been called to lead, and NoHo has been my home for nearly 15 years. And I've been deeply invested in helping the people of my community. So my mother, my hero, instilled the values of service in me from a very, very young age. And for me, family is everything. After becoming my mother's power of attorney because of early onset Alzheimer's, and then losing multiple family members due to easily preventable causes like failures in our healthcare system, housing, mental health crises, and worst of all, poverty, I knew I had to act. So I found that calling in movements like Bernie Sanders' campaign, Not Me, Us. It really spoke to me on a deeper level of helping the person you won't know, and that in economic inequality is the greatest problem of our time. So I decided to take that energy to the NoHo Neighborhood Council, and shortly after being elected, I became treasurer and the chair of Housing and Services. And it has definitely been my greatest joy to pass several grants that have fed our unhoused neighbors, given mental health care and support to at-risk youth, and taught renters their rights so they can stay housed. I have built relationships with elected officials, their staff, community groups, and mutual aid organizations that are already doing the work on the ground. And my work is just beginning. So my major focus will be on preventative services instead of reactive services. And I'm going to start off with housing as a human right by advocating for the end of harmful city ordinance 4118 and moving to implement a housing first model with real wraparound services, social housing, expanding the rent stabilization ordinance, and keeping renters housed. I'm also focused on expanding public transportation, ending traffic violence, supporting HLA, and expanding our green spaces. I will also always continue to push for unarmed crisis response. And I'm an advocate for CalCare, and I believe in a true single payer system. It's time in 2024 to choose us and elect people like myself. We have an election where we can actually take over our city council, and it's so exciting. We need to pick people who are dedicated to being public servants, not corporate ones. So I am so honored to be endorsed by our city controller, Kenneth Mejia, former Burbank Mayor Constantine Anthony, California Women's List, FIA, IATSE B192, Streets for All, and LA Forward. So we are building community solidarity, and I would love for each of you to join our People Powered campaign. This upcoming Monday, February 5th, I'm so excited because we're having a fundraiser with Gina Viola at Lawless Brewery from 6 to 8 p.m. You are invited. And we're going to have a really fun LA City themed bingo and raffle that I created. And we also had our first community bike ride, and we're planning on having more. So sign up at JillianForTheValley.com and follow me at JillianForCD2 on all socials. Thank you so much, LA Forward.
Thank you so much, Jillian, for making time for us tonight. And of course, Jillian has actually been to many LA Forward engagements over the last couple of years. It's amazing to me always that she makes time for community conversations and to understand how she can move advocacy forward in the middle of running a campaign at the same time. So thank you for joining again tonight, Jillian. We're going to move on to the next council district, Council District 4, where you might see somebody familiar to you because she has already been serving in office for the last 4 years. And to introduce her is actually our colleague who you heard from earlier, Erica Liebman.
Thank you, Godfrey. I'm so excited and honored to introduce the amazing Councilmember Nithya Raman. I'm a resident of Los Feliz. I live in Council District 4. I can't wait to get my ballot. I can't wait to vote for Nithya Raman and to make sure that all my neighbors are too. During her first term in office, the council member has proven herself to be a champion for the progressive values that we hold dear. I know that her leadership is important, not just for us in District 4, but actually she's shown tremendous leadership across the city council in fighting for governance reform, tenants' rights, helping house our unhoused neighbors. And she's a leader, she's a coalition builder. I feel honored to know her and honored to introduce her. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to our council member. We can't wait to get you reelected.
Thank you so much, Erica. What a pleasure to be here. What a pleasure to be here with all of you. I think I said this in my last LA Forward event, but I feel like in many ways the movement that is LA Forward today and the work that started on my campaign moved in parallel directions. So I feel a lot of kinship to this group. I feel like we've brought a lot of people into caring about local politics at the same time. And it's been really exciting to see this space really grow and expand in Los Angeles. And now you guys are moving all across LA County as well, which is just so incredibly impressive. So I couldn't be more grateful to be here with all of you and to be here with all these other incredible candidates and all of the people who are working on their teams and so many of you here who are attending. Over the last, it's only been 3 years since I've been in this role. So I was elected in November of 2020. I started in earnest in January of 2021. And, you know, I talked a lot about a bunch of different issues when I was running. I talked about tenants' rights. I talked about the environment. I talked about homelessness. And I feel like over the last 3 years, we've really tried to deliver on the message of the campaign in as many ways as we possibly could. Last year, we passed the largest expansion of tenant protections in 40 years since the establishment of the RSO, including passing universal just cause eviction protections here in the city of Los Angeles. We're the largest city in America to do that. And that expansion of tenant protections added another 400,000 households who are protected by these new rules here in the city, a city that is majority renters. We've housed hundreds of people across the district who are experiencing homelessness, not by pushing people from sidewalk to sidewalk or putting people in jail, but by really offering services and housing. And by doing that at large encampments that existed across the district when I got elected, we were able to house every person in many of them and cleared them completely. And because we housed people, those areas have actually stayed clear. And that really has demonstrated that our approach to homelessness, the approach that I know so many people on this call want to see, a compassionate, person-centric approach to homelessness, works to end homelessness more effectively than any other approach out there. And this is the way that the city needs to be investing in this issue going forward. And we've shown over and over again at encampment after encampment in our district that it works. And I'm so, so proud of the work. On the environment, we've passed new legislation that's decarbonized all new construction in the city of Los Angeles, making it 100% electric. And in our own council district, we've built bike lanes. We've made Griffith Park safer for pedestrians and people on bikes. You know, we've really tried to deliver on taking action that we knew was possible with the city council, but they weren't always interested in moving the agenda forward that I felt like was important for so many of the people that I talked to when I was running. I want to say that I'm particularly happy to be here because I think the kind of work that we're doing in office, the kind of campaign that we ran, the kind of election that we had last time and this time where we're talking to as many voters as possible, it has challenged how power works in the city of Los Angeles. It has challenged how power is exercised at City Hall, right? And because it has challenged how power is exercised over and over again, I feel like they have tried to ensure that I can't get reelected. They redistricted me out of my original district. It was revealed on those leaked tapes that the new coalition of voters that we brought into this election, voter turnout increased by 5 times in my race from the previous council race. And elections had always been low turnout affairs, especially municipal elections here in this city. And for the first time in my race, we managed to get a lot more people excited about local politics. And that scared people so much, they tried to cut out those voters from my district entirely. And guess who those voters were? They were younger people. They were renters. They were people who had never participated in local politics before. And when they did, they voted for a very different vision of Los Angeles than had been in power for a long time. And so I think it's up to us to prove to everybody that this change in how our city works, that this change in who comes out to vote, who pays attention, and that this change in our elected officials, many more of whom are talking about the issues that matter for so many Angelenos, it's up to us to prove that this change is a robust one. And so that's why I want to encourage everyone to get involved in my election and in so many of the incredible elections that are happening at this time. We have an opportunity to show that speaking directly to voters, that acting on the issues that matter the most for voters can really result in electoral outcomes that work for the people of Los Angeles. So thank you all for being out here. Thank you to LA Forward for doing what you do. And let's hold on to Council District 4.
Let's do this, y'all. Thank you so much, Councilman Raman, for joining us this evening. We know you were making the rounds and making sure that all the voters get to know you, especially the ones who didn't get to know you the first time because you were redistricted into them. And Councilman Raman's office has been a really great partner in supporting the movement toward independent redistricting as well, which would help ensure that future efforts to redistrict are done independently of folks who might have other corrupt motives, like we heard on those leaked audio tapes. So thank you so much for partnering with us on the advocacy effort and for joining us tonight. Vote for Councilwoman Nithya Raman for her second term. And thank you, Erica, for the introduction. The next 3 candidates that we are excited to introduce for endorsement are all 3 first-time candidates. And so it's really great to see fresh faces in the electoral realm. And so to introduce our first of those candidates for Council District 10, which is where I call home in Koreatown, we have Angie Jean Marie joining us, stepping out from dinner. Thank you so much, Angie, for stepping out of dinner and introducing Council District 10's candidate.
Hi, everybody, and apologies for like the weird mystery shadowy background going on here, but I'm actually spending the evening with a bunch of people who know Pastor Eddie Anderson extremely well from his years of organizing work in Los Angeles. And when I mentioned to folks that I'd be stepping out to do this, the words that I heard about Eddie were in the trenches. I heard humility, I heard kind, I heard in it for the long term. And that's exactly why I've been so excited to support Pastor Eddie Anderson for CD10. I just checked my text messages on March 8th of 2023. I received the text message I'd been waiting for a long time. Eddie texted me and he said, "Hey, Angie, I'm thinking about running for CD10. Can I talk to you?" And I responded in all caps, "Yes, this is the text that I've been waiting for." As a resident of CD10, I saw the ways in which our community had been overlooked, had experienced the ongoing challenges of corruption, frankly, and politics, how a number of services were not being provided to the people who lived in my community. And even with an issue like street safety, which had supposedly been a city priority, people were continuing to die on the street all of the time. And thankfully, thanks to the organizing work that groups like LA Forward had done and other organizing work, had been able to connect with my neighbors to understand what the issues were that folks were really concerned about. And who showed up to those kinds of meetings was Pastor Eddie Anderson. He's been doing the work as a clergy leader in West Adams for several years now. He's been in the trenches, literally, with groups like Black Lives Matter. He has been focused on economic development and economic justice. He has been focused on reparations, on healthcare, on supporting young people, on connecting with system-impacted folks in our community. And when we say that we want to vote by our values, that's exactly what would happen if you voted for Pastor Eddie Anderson. He is someone who has been very morally guided, frankly, in his time in Los Angeles, has made clear where his values stand. And I think it would be so incredible if we elected him to the city council to continue the beautiful legacy of progressives and supposed outsiders being able to get into city council and to create the change that we've all been waiting for a really, really long time. So I'm really privileged, and I couldn't have said no to the opportunity to support Eddie tonight. And I'm so grateful that LA Forward has endorsed him, and I hope that you all extend your support. So Eddie, I'll kick it off to you.
Thank you so much, Angie, for stepping out of dinner, for the love. And thank you to LA Forward for the endorsement in this race. I'm deeply moved by what you all continue to do to stand up for folks and to be here with you tonight. I'm Pastor Eddie Anderson. I'm a local pastor, not a politician. I have been serving my community for over a decade in CD10. I pastor a local church in West Adams, and I'm a renter in Mid-City. I used to live in Jefferson Park, but the rent went up, so me and my wife, we had to move. And for the last decade, I've been listening to community and asking one simple question: how are we loving our neighbors as we love ourselves? And for this time, we've been workshopping, I like to call it troubleshooting the city and how to make it work for the seniors in our community who are on fixed income, but yet there's not enough senior housing in our district. Work for the people facing eviction in our community. Work for the homeless person who sleeps on the doorstep of my church or on the neighborhood streets in our community. How do we make this city work? How do you make sure our voices are heard and that street services happen in our community? And how do we enforce traffic safety when I have seen people literally die in front of my congregation? And so through LA Voice, which I organized with, and through the church, and now through my CDC, which I've invested $8 million in the community to make sure we have workforce development programs and urban farming and gardening and educational programs in our community, I decided to run for city council after listening deeply to community. Because I believe we can serve our community, and that it's time for change. It's time for equity. It's time for justice. It's time to reimagine democracy in CD10, and to do it for a better Los Angeles, and to do it for a better Council District 10. Here's the fact: CD10 is the most diverse district in LA City. And I've been a coalition builder for this decade, working with people with very different backgrounds, whether it's race or religion or ethnicity, to bring folks together to really solve the hardest problems that we face, whether that's with Black Lives Matter, whether that's leading protests with Poor People's Campaign, or writing policy and helping writing policy like ULA and Measure J and Measure A, or getting the rules change around bail reform and helping DA George Gascón do some transformative justice work. I'm concentrating on 4 things. The first thing is we need to have homes for people to live in that we can afford. We got to fight poverty and not the poor. We got to make sure we have economic justice and make sure we legislate things like guaranteed basic income, make the big leap permanent in our society. To reimagine what public safety looks like and invest in neighborhoods, in small businesses, invest in alternatives to policing, and lead with a care first mentality. I know what it means to be Black in LA. I know what it means to be homeless in LA. I know what it means to just want to survive in LA, but you're working and you can't get around. So one job should be enough to live in the city. We should make housing a human right in LA city. The LA should be a leader to the nation on what is possible, and that we got to make sure in Council District 10, when our voices were silent and our voices were left out of the conversation of what our representation looks like, that we could actually have community in the decision-making process of policy. So here's my promise to you, if you're a CD10 resident, that policy will start with the data and with you, with conversations with you. We will go through the process and we will come back to you to make sure that it's getting implemented. And I will appoint a deputy of people in my office to make sure that we are always listening and moving with the will of the people in our community. I know this race is hard, that there are 5 people in the race, all very qualified. But I ask you to support me because I'm looking at a room of angelic troublemakers who know that when we fight together, we win, and that we can win this race. We canvass, we text bank, we postcard together. I've canvassed every day this week, twice a day. I've done call time twice a day. I walk with my neighbors to make sure that we are doing it. We didn't prioritize elected official endorsements. We prioritize the endorsement of community members. And that's why I'm proud to say I have over 30 civil rights organizations and a bunch of neighborhood influencers who are endorsing this campaign, who are walking with us, talking with us, introducing us to their neighbors, texting their neighbors, postcarding their neighbors, and getting out this vote. Please join us, Anderson2024.com, and I look forward to winning this race with you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Eddie. I look forward to receiving a halo that says Pastor Eddie 2024 on it as an angelic troublemaker in this room. Sounds like a merch opportunity, but I can't wait to cast my vote for you since I live in your district. Our next candidate, as we move from the Mid-City, Koreatown, Leimert Park area up north over the hills, will be introduced to you by somebody who is very familiar with what it is like to run for City Council District 12, and that is Dr. Lorraine Lundquist.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here and I love the energy in the room tonight. Yeah, my name's Dr. Lorraine Lundquist. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Northridge and, here in Council District 12, and I was recently elected the board chair of LA Forward. So I am so proud of all of our candidates that we're endorsing this year and all the people here tonight. I'm also a professor at CSUN and a climate activist, and I am so excited to be introducing my next council member, Serena Oberstein. I am voting for her because, first of all, she's a former president of the Ethics Commission, and ethics is something our city could really use a big, massive dose of right now, if not at all times. She's also a human rights activist who's been fighting for the rights of marginalized people for her whole life. She's a nonprofit policy director, and she is going to kick Republican staffer bee's butt out of office. So let's hear it for Serena Oberstein.
Thank you so much for inviting me, for your support. I want to thank Dr. Lorraine Lundquist for her endless support. I really couldn't be doing this race without her. I mean, not only did she lay the groundwork for me to be here, she really has been an incredible source of strength this whole campaign. So deep gratitude to you. I'm Serena Oberstein. I am the former president and vice president of the LA City Ethics Commission. I'm a nonprofit policy executive, a wife, a mom, and now a candidate for city council as of 11 weeks ago. I got into this race because the city is experiencing a crisis, an affordable housing crisis, a prevailing wage crisis, and a crisis of conscience. The community that I'm running in, the North San Fernando Valley, which is North Hills to West Hills, was built by teachers and nurses and people like my grandfather, who dropped out of high school to go fight in World War II. And when he came back, there was no work in Owatonna, Minnesota. So he packed up his car with my dad and his siblings and my grandmother, who had an 8th grade education because she had to go work on her family farm. And they came to the North San Fernando Valley, and he got a job at the GM plant, and he became a UAW member, and he was able to afford a house. And and they were right near Valley State, which is called CSUN. My dad was able to put himself through college. He was the only person in his family to go to college by working in a gas station. It's where he met my mom. It's where they got their teaching credentials. They spent 30 years working with LAUSD. And in 1989, my parents sat my brother and I down and said, our contract is being violated. We're going on strike. And I said, great, I'm going on strike too. And not wanting to squash my spirit, they asked me why. And I told them it was unfair that they were supposed to take care of other people's kids, but they couldn't take care of my brother and I. And so they took me out to this really big rally where the head of the teachers union, Helen Bernstein, head of UTLA, was standing on a park bench shouting into a megaphone about how my parents deserved to be able to put a roof over their family's head and deserved affordable healthcare. And even at 9 years old, I understood the power of movement building. And even at 9 years old, I understood that it took thousands and thousands of people shouting for my parents' 2 voices to be heard. And so I committed my life to investing in people who are the backbone of the community. My first job out of college was with DC Jobs with Justice, coalition of labor unions, community, student, religious organizations. And over the course of my career, that is all I've done, whether it is as an analyst working in the city of Los Angeles, or as the chief operating officer of an organization that delivered free eye exams and glasses to children living below the poverty line, or for the last 3.5 years, running an anti-genocide and mass atrocities nonprofit as the executive director, where I saw firsthand how the erosion of labor rights in this country has directly led to the erosion of human rights around the world. And I have spent my career focused on making sure that the biggest problems are being addressed with big solutions by building coalitions across faith, across ethnicity, across culture, and even across political disposition, because that's sometimes what the moment requires. I'm running against someone whose political family has held this seat for 4 decades. I'm running in a district where that has been held by the Republican Party for more than 65 years. And we have an opportunity to flip this seat from red to blue by addressing the most urgent issues of our day, by making sure that we are treating our unhoused people with dignity, by getting them into housing, not by moving them from sidewalk to sidewalk, by partnering with our labor unions and building job pipelines so that whether our kids go to college or whether they start an apprenticeship program, they have the ability to make a living wage. I'm looking at building affordable housing at every single income level, so that not only are we thinking about the people who are living on the streets, but we're capturing people before they fall into homelessness. And the person that I'm running against has built a career on being a seat holder, on taking special interest money and really serving them. Right now, as of today, there are now 3 independent expenditures against me. I'm being outspent 8 to 1. I am the only Democrat in this race. I'm proud to be a lifelong Democrat. I registered to be a Democrat as soon as I turned 18. And I've spent my life and my career focusing on democratic values. And that's what I want to bring into City Hall. I want to bring in the voices of the community people of Council District 12. And I'm proud to be endorsed by Congress members Adam Schiff, Brad Sherman, Howard Berman, Assembly members Pilar Schiavo, Jesse Gabriel, state senators Henry Stern and Ben Allen, local unions like ILWU District Council, SEIU 121RN, and more. And I look forward to, I'm grateful for your support. I hope you'll come out and walk. This election is over March 5th. John and I are the only two who qualified for this ballot. If we want to flip this district, we have 35 days. So I hope you'll come out. I'm grateful that you're going to come and canvass in a few weeks. We have phone banks every night, and you know, we'd love to have your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Serena. We know you're running around making sure that you're securing all the votes in as ballots begin to drop, even in the next few days or so. And everyone should stay tuned, because after our final candidate coming up very shortly, we are going to be dropping tons of links into the chat box again for how you might be able to support and sign up to support all of these different candidates. So thank you again, Serena. And thank you, Dr. Lundquist, for the introduction as well to your district. Last but very not least, we find ourselves in District 14, which I think has been in a lot of our minds, especially since a leaked audio tape dropped 2 years ago. And we've been really eager to find a new council member for that district, but also a decision maker that would represent LA's values, not the ones that we heard on tape. And so to introduce our next candidate, we've got CD14 resident Marissa Roy.
Hello, LA Forward. I am in one of CD14's wonderful assets, Grand Central Market. We're in the heart of downtown. And I am so excited to tell you about one of the most phenomenal candidates I have seen in a long time. So Ysabel is a victim defense attorney. She grew up in this district in Eagle Rock with her immigrant parents. She has raised a daughter in the district, and she went to law school because she saw people getting priced out around her. And there were a lot of places she could have gone and a lot of directions she could have gone from UCLA law. But she chose to come back and reinvest in her community to make sure that families would stay housed, to make sure that we had protection for affordable housing, to make sure that people who are struggling can get access to the housing and resources that they need. And that's exactly the type of work and expertise that we so sorely need in CD14. CD14 has about a quarter of the population of people experiencing homelessness in the entire city. And we have not had council members that can address this crisis with compassion and urgency. Instead, we have had council members who, God, we don't hate me, who fuck around and have been wasting our taxpayer resources, have been an absolute disgrace. And if they haven't ended up in jail, everyone from Magic Johnson to Joe Biden is asking them to resign. This is a really important district, and this is going to be the district where we need to turn the tide of our homelessness crisis and so many of the other most pressing issues facing Los Angeles. And we could not have a more ardent advocate in Ysabel Jurado, in someone who never sought out spotlight and never sought out public office, but has all of the skills and experiences that we need to see in our city government. I am so excited to be supporting Ysabel and to see all of the great change that she brings to this sorely, this district that's crying for leadership. So it's really exciting to hear you talk about Ysabel. And I will say also, if she doesn't get the pitch, you've got a really crowded primary. So even if it's not getting, like in ways, ours is getting decided in the primary too. And it has ramifications all across Los Angeles. So we need your help. And with that, I will give it to Ysabel.
Thank you, Marissa, for that gracious, very, very gracious introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Ysabel Jurado. I'm running for CD14, as you can see on the other side. I know it's Thursday and you're probably exhausted from your week and just want to zone out and watch The Bachelor and with a glass of wine, but you showed up here, so that means a lot. I truly appreciate everyone on this call's dedication to the progressive movement and your willingness to stay engaged in the political process, something that can often feel at best frustrating and at worst demoralizing. So thank you. For the newcomers, let me introduce myself. Like Marissa mentioned, I'm a Highland Park native, daughter of undocumented immigrants, an eviction defense attorney, a housing justice activist, a single mom, and I'm running to be District 14's next councilwoman. I was born and raised in Highland Park in the same house I grew up in, and some of the weirdest but best housemates. Right now, my dad and my teenage daughter, and if you live with them long enough, you realize you're becoming your parent. As a lifelong Highland Park resident, I've seen the toll that luxury development has taken on our communities. Oh my gosh, hold on. I'm like looking in the chat. I'm sorry to hear about your loss, Tracy. My heart goes out to you. Like, these are the actual preventable deaths that I think we could be working towards in this district and in this city. And that's definitely something that I want to fight to prevent. So I appreciate you being here and for sharing that, because we share those values. Part of my entryway into this work is seeing my neighbors and longtime businesses being displaced. And during the pandemic, when I was an attorney, I saw seniors being forced into homelessness because there was no affordable housing for them to get into on their fixed incomes. And I put my body on the line, even protecting tenants, who were getting evicted illegally when the sheriff shouldn't have been enforcing lockouts. And so right now, that was really sad and depressing, and wanted to develop, legal solutions that were more hopeful. So now I'm a community lawyer that helps communities buy back properties in their neighborhood so they can keep it permanently affordable, whether for their businesses, for their apartments or their housing, or to preserve open space, because that's right now is the only intervention we have on the outside to make sure that displacement doesn't happen and we can really stop homelessness before it starts. But as council member, we have an opportunity to really make big strides on this, and it takes political will and courage, and we need to build that block on council, right? And that's why the folks are here. That's why LA Forward is doing its great work. I'm so grateful to be in the comfort of this community, knowing that the fight still continues. And so, in this race, when people tell me I'm not experienced enough, I just can't help but laugh, because what experience has going back and forth to Sacramento given us, or experience in the building given us at this time? It's given us 4 council members federally indicted for corruption and bribery, 3 in a shady backroom deal. Meanwhile, they're telling me that my lived experience as a broke brown girl in this district and on the front lines of our homelessness and housing crisis is not experience that should be valued, right? But I think that's what we need right now. I've dedicated my profession to housing justice. I'm just as qualified as the career politicians in the race. And, here's the deal. Time and time again, they put their personal interests above the needs of our community. They publicly claim the mantle of progressive while betraying us behind closed doors. It's time to stop electing progressives that are only in name only. I'm like reading, you're not experienced enough with That's really listen. That's why it's important to elect everyday people who understand the struggles of our community that these career politicians just talk about. Being a lifelong public transit user, a working class Angelino, navigating the challenges of poverty, and advocate for housing rights have molded me into someone who can genuinely represent and uplift our neighbors, especially just like, I think it's time we just center the people most affected by our policies in our policies, actually, right? Our opponents have, I'm like reading the thing. Twitch streamer. Yeah, it's because I am I've lived online for a long time. Okay, yeah, so going back to the race, our opponents, there's a lot of people in this field. They have deep pockets, and that's what happens when you accept big oil, big pharma, big developer, and cop money. So we have to out-organize them by knocking on doors, every door in this district. And that's where you all come in. We canvass every single day, y'all. We need you on these doors because that's how we win. And we are not going to stop until we knock on every single door, hear every single concern, until the establishment realizes that this is a movement that cannot be ignored. Look, we got them shaking in their boots, and Tim can play a DJ, his EDM song about remixing the shaking in their boots. But it's true. They've come to, endorsement hearings and tried to torpedo into no consensus, because even when we're not trying, because they're afraid of us. But we got to transition all that energy into door knocking and results. So please sign up and volunteer with us at bit.ly/CD14 volunteer. And if you can't canvass, consider chipping into our campaign, right? Like if you're not able to canvass, you don't have the time, then please donate to our campaign so that people who can door knock for you, right? $100 is 4 hours, and that's like 160 doors on a really good day that's not very rainy. And so chip in at bit.ly/Ysabel2024. And y'all, look, it's time to break the curse of bad leadership in our district. And don't get it twisted, break the curse. The curse is a metaphor for toxic masculinity, patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism. Okay. And so it's time for us, to end the affordable housing crisis. It's time to reimagine public safety. It's time to tackle our problems, our internal problems with our leadership and the ethics. It's time for something different. So y'all, it's new year, new district, tap in, click the links, and I'm just so happy to be here. So thank you for hanging on this long.
Thank you so much, Ysabel. I need that t-shirt that says curse means, and then have all those other isms that you actually just laid out there. Sounds like additional new merch that is coming up on this call. Vote for Ysabel. Again, it's an incredibly competitive race with lots of moneyed individuals who are running against her. And so we want to make sure that she makes it through this particular primary. Thanks again, Ysabel. And like she said, this is not just about celebrating really amazing progressive champions right now. Like we have to actually translate this into results. And so I'm going to pass things back to Erica, who has organized all of the opportunities you're about to hear about in order for us to be able to support these amazing candidates tonight. Erica?
Thank you, Godfrey. It was so incredibly energizing to hear from all of the candidates. I don't know about you guys, but I am pumped up. We're so excited to get out there. We're going to be knocking doors. These are some of the events that we have coordinated where we're going to have our members out. We're going to have a great LA Forward community showing up. February 10th for Nithya Raman, February 11th for George Gascón, February 17th for Jillian Burgos, February 18th for Serena Oberstein, the 24th for Ysabel Jurado, and March 2nd for Eddie Anderson. But we need you guys out more days than this. We need you text banking, postcard writing, making phone calls, donating, and that's why all of the links and resources are in our shared document for all of our members to utilize. I'll drop those links again in the chat. Oh, I think Godfrey's helping me out by dropping those links in the chat. And don't forget to come out to our ballot parties. We're going to celebrate all the hard work we're doing by knocking doors and all of that. We're going to celebrate by coming together and filling out our ballots together and voting for these amazing progressive leaders and having a beer and taking a load off after all the hard work we're putting in. So don't miss these amazing ballot parties. We'll be in Pomona, Pasadena, the San Fernando Valley, Covina, Culver City, and downtown LA. So these will be a lot of fun. You can check out our LA Forward calendar and you can sign up for all these events. We're going hard this month, y'all. It's going to be an amazing February. And like many of our candidates mentioned, we really have to put in the work now to make sure we get the results we want on March 5th. I'm also going to drop the election website info just in case you need any help with figuring out how to get your ballot or where the vote centers are, any of that info you can find on there. And we'll drop our links one more time. And thank you guys so much. I will pass it back to Godfrey.
Thank you so much, Erica. I've got 2 more fun announcements for folks to support all of the work that is happening. As you can see, we had a lot of women leaders on tonight that were celebrating the work of, and that we want to make sure we elect to make sure they are leading us into the future. And so LA Forward is partnering with California Women's List the day after Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day. And we're really excited to support 4 women candidates that we are overlapping in endorsements for, formerly known as High Def Brewery, now called Audiograph Beer. We will see you there. It's a singles mixer. You don't have to be single to be there and to enter. In fact, you can bring your attached people with you as long as they are also in on supporting these amazing leaders who lead with love. And so again, see you there. We have a link on our website where you can also purchase tickets. I'll be there in case you know anyone, but that's not for me. It's for these amazing leaders that you're out there to support. So see you out there. And then of course, we are not just stopping at this primary. We're already getting ready for November. Did you know that in LA County, we have never had a permanent fund to support renter protections and affordable housing? Did you know that our homelessness services fund is about to expire? We cannot let any of these things happen, but our supervisors are not yet taking action. So we are taking it into our own hands, and we're collecting 400,000 signatures across the county from LA County voters in order to ensure that when we get to November, voters have the opportunity to say, we demand all of these things for LA County, the renter protections, the affordable housing, the homelessness prevention, homelessness services as well. You can sign petitions or collect signatures between now and the beginning of April, but we're going to be canvassing together in South LA. You can join us at that particular link if you want to canvass with us, and or you can circulate petitions. You can email me in order to get your hands on a petition. But otherwise, let's just look again at this amazing team of folks that I cannot wait to get into City Hall and into our government, because you can imagine that they are each powerful as individuals, but honestly, at the end of the day, we're electing a team of people who will work with each other to carry our entire community into the future. So again, join us for one of the many events that we've got. Make sure you donate, support, and then of course, vote for all of these candidates. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Follow us on Instagram at LA Forward, then follow all of these folks who are then tagged there. We'll post this video at some point for anyone who missed it, but otherwise, thank you all for joining us. Let's close out with some more dancing. Bye, y'all.
Y'all ready for this?